25 drivers, 16 nationalities, 3 champions, 1 champ. Road to Indy TV.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's get this thing underway. On behalf of Cooper Tires and Allied Building Products, drivers, start your engines! And with that, engines come to fire. All these engines built by Elite Engines out of Wisconsin. Tatis Chassis, Cooper Tires. It's time to go racing. Final event of the day, USF 2000.
10 races down, 1 more to go. It is the USF 2000 Championship with Hunter McElrea, Braden Eves alongside on the front row. As Rob mentioned, these two have been having quite a battle throughout the season. They are 1 and 2 in the championship. They finished 1-2 yesterday. It was McElrea and Eves. And then Christian Rasmussen, who also, we should mention, had a terrific run in yesterday's race, jumped up a few spots from the start and then claimed a third-place finish, picking up a nice podium finish, Christian Rasmussen. The field begins to pull away down pit road. 18 drivers ready to do battle. Our final racing event of the 2019 edition of the Grand Prix of Portland. This will wrap up things. We had lots of action in yesterday's race. This was the series in yesterday's action that avoided any sort of difficulty in the Shelton chicane, which as we've seen has been somewhat unusual for a number of different series this weekend. But this was the series yesterday where all the drivers kept their heads about them, approached the Shelton chicane smartly, got through it, and without incident, and the race ran very smoothly after that point. 25 laps of racing set to go. McElrea Eves will form up on the front row and bring us to the green in just a moment or two. Who will come out on top? It's been a back-and-forth battle with the championship all season. Let's see if the drivers, after having a long day to wait for race number 2, continue to keep their wits about them and also have another smooth start like they did yesterday.
Again, end of the day, wrong headset. That's fantastic. Trying to figure out what happened there on the wrong headset. Again, you brought it up at the end of the day. This is weird for these drivers. They raced yesterday. They've been here all day long, essentially, sitting around, thinking about the race. What am I going to do? Oftentimes for young drivers, anywhere between 14 and 20-something years of age, you don't want them to do a lot of thinking. Let's get them on the racetrack. Let's get them going. I don't care what sport it is. Get them out on the field. Same thing here right now. Our drivers in USF 2000 have been waiting patiently all day to get back at it. Braden Eves on the outside, Hunter McElrea on the inside, looking to go for a race win to cap off this weekend here in Portland. Good start. Bottom of the racetrack. The car of number 22, Hunter McElrea, bringing him to the bottom. Everybody in line. They'll look for green here to cap off the weekend. Final race of the Road to Indy presented by Cooper Tires here on Labor Day weekend. We are underway. Green, green, green. And what kind of a start do we get? Racing down into 1. McElrea gets a good jump. He'll lead him in here. Good start there as well for Rasmussen. All the other drivers, a little bit of contact further back, open over top of the curb. Not too bad, though. Wow, through turn 1 and 2 cleanly. They'll get through turn 3 as well, over to 4. McElrea out to a pretty solid advantage early on. McElrea goes to P1, probably about 4 or 5 car lengths over Braden Eves. McElrea smells blood in the water right now. He wants to win this championship. Eves won the 5 of the first 7 races of the year. It was on a tear. But in the second half, McElrea's been so consistent, has grabbed race wins at Road America and Mid-Ohio, and yesterday here in Portland as well. Drivers settling into the battle further back, 3 wide coming out of turn number 8 and 9, or 8 rather. Now they're making it exciting early. There's the number 12 of Suleiman making a move to the inside of Yuvan Sundaramurthy. Good racing early. Suleiman, the driver, on the move for sure. He's got a couple of spots here early. Again, one of the things, Todd, is the fact that they've all sat down. They've talked about what they're going to do to the race cars. They'll make a lot of changes to these cars for the final race, but remember how much rubber's gone down all day long. We've had 4 races before they've been on track.
That's an interesting thing, different from the Cooper Tires rubber as well. That's something that will make a difference in how these cars handle. They haven't been on the track all day. There's going to be a feeling out process from these drivers for the first lap or two to understand how the car is going to behave over the remaining 24 laps.
Driver on the move now. You saw that that great pass. Zach Holden going to the inside of Jack Crawford coming through turn number 1, and then rolled the outside of the corner heading over to turn number 2 and 3 as well. Christian Rasmussen, who had done so well early, timing and scoring telling us he's fallen down the order. I'm trying to pick him up visually. I think indeed he's out. That's going to move Crawford back to 5th. Holden now up into the 4th spot. Crawford runs in 5th. Darren Keene, I believe, up into the 6th position here as we're underway. Good battle there for 15th, 16th, and 17th. Kyle Dupel, Jack Miller, and Ayrton Ori. Here's the 91 of Eduardo Barrichello. Look at Ori trying to go the outside of Bogle into turn number 9. See if he holds that. Rolled a lot of corner speed into there. Looks like all drivers able to get through thus far. Good fight, though, between Christian Bogle and Ayrton Ori. Braden Eves resets fast lap of the race. That's what he needs to close back in. 0.6 of a second back, but early on in a 25-lap battle. We say hello to those of you joining us on the Road to Indy TV app, getting to watch live coverage here as you have throughout the season on Road to Indy TV. There's the gap between 1st and 2nd, back to 3rd and 4th, 5th and 6th. So it's McElrea and Eves, back about 1.5 seconds to Kaminsky. Colin Kaminsky, the 23. Zach Holden, 4th in the 14. Jack Crawford, 5th in the number 4. Darren Keene able to get by his Cape Motorsports teammate Prix Gold. So move Keene now up into the 6th spot. Gold 7th, Barrichello 8th, Sunder Worthy 9th, and Manuel Suleiman in 10th. Good fight here between Suleiman and Sunder Worthy. Even one of the drivers had some trouble coming through turn number 12 earlier in the weekend in the practice session, tagging the wall of the tires with his left rear. There's a run through turn number 9, and Suleiman completes the pass. Got a good run out of turn number 8. Todd got to the inside, owns the apex, he owns the exit, and drives all the way through.
Just as we saw in the previous race, the Pro 2000 race, a pass that is set up several corners early, get yourself the line going in, and then moving out. We should mention as well, it looks like Christian Rasmussen has returned. He made a stop along pit lane, but has returned. He is a lap down, though, behind the rest of the field.
Watching this good scrap just outside the top 10 right now between Sunder Worthy, Bruno Tomasella, Nolan Siegel right there, kind of making sure he doesn't get caught up in those two drivers beating on each other. Manuel Suleiman, having gotten by Sunder Worthy, has been able to get about 0.5 seconds on him. But now we're going to fight for 10th, 11th, and 12th. Throw Josh Green in there as well. Driver dropping a wheel coming out of turn number 7. That is one of the Pabst racing cars. That was Kaminsky. So Colin Kaminsky, and look at Jack Crawford going to work on it. Kaminsky dropped the wheel out of turn number 7. Had to bring it back on before turn 8. Tires dirty, not able to get a good run through. And here comes Crawford. He's going to go to the inside of Kaminsky. Not quite there. Kaminsky holds him off. Darren Keene ready to capitalize as well. That is 4th, 5th, and 6th. And Zach Holden was gifted 3rd there on the number 14 Legacy Autosport machine. Zach Holden running 3rd. We'll look at lap times as well, but Holden pretty impressive right now. 1.6 seconds behind Braden Eves. It's McElrea, Eves, Holden, Kaminsky, Crawford, and Keene top 6. Reese Gold runs 7th, Barrichello 8th, Suleiman 9th, and Bruno Tomaselli able to get to the inside to get the spot there for 10th. And we got a good fight here between Darren Keene and his teammate Jack Crawford.
Same as we saw again in the previous race, Indy Pro 2000, 3rd, 4th, 5th, fighting for position. We should remind as well, this will be another example of the cars not being at optimum performance through the first couple of laps. As the fuel burns off a little bit, the tire pressures come up, they'll perform a little bit better, and then there will be a little bit of a drop off at the end once again.
Crawford still with the position, running P5, Keene in 6th. Remember, Darren Keene in a championship battle as well. He needs to get by here. He's watching the championship slip away a little bit because obviously we've seen some pretty impressive runs thus far by Hunter McElrea and Braden Eves. But Darren, of course, trying to make sure he stays in the top 3. He's still looking good in the points. Darren Keene is 232. He's trying to battle it out with Colin Kaminsky. Colin just ahead of him, you can tell. Darren's getting a little bit impatient, trying to find a way by. Jack Crawford gets a really good run coming down the straightaway. He'll tuck him behind. Let's see what happens when they come into turn 1. There's 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th. Keene looks to the inside. No. He had a really good look to the inside, and again, his teammate Jack Crawford, just 14 years of age, got lots of experience in karting, legend cars, F4 NACAM down in Mexico. But Keene pushing hard here to try to find a way by. McElroy's lead now 1.1 seconds. There's the battle with the two Cape cars. Looks to me like Eduardo Barrichello going to work here on Reese Gold as well. Here come the Cape cars. That's Crawford and Keane. Indeed, there's a move there as Barrichello, in fact, his teammate from D-Force Racing, Manuel Suleiman, right behind him. So D-Force Racing running in 8th and 9th. Tomaselli 10th, but it's Barrichello and Suleiman going at it, trying to find a way by Reese Gold. Here comes Keane. Big run to the inside for Darren Keane, to the inside of turn number 9. Book it. He's through. Darren Keane. Same pass we saw earlier by Zach Holden. Good run out of 7, great run out of 8, and he's able to go by and launching away from Jack Crawford. Darren Keane's going to go hunting. He's going to try to see if he can't reel in Colin Kaminsky for 4th.
6 laps complete. It's still Hunter McElroy out front, followed by Braden Eves. These two have been alternating, setting fast time, although Colin Kaminsky just sent the fast time on that lap of 1:12.6. Zach Holden, Kaminsky, and Keane rounding out the top 5.
Awesome battle right now for 11th, 12th, and 13th. Yuvan Sundermurthy, Nolan Siegel, and Josh Green. I believe Green might have just got to the inside of Siegel down in turn number 1. But they're definitely having a good battle there back and forth. Really clean racing between those 3 drivers. Berta Tomaselli was able to get by Sundermurthy earlier, and she's pulled away to about a 2nd advantage. That's 10th. Here comes the battle again. Look at this is Colin Kaminsky spooling back up here on Zach Holden. Remember, Kaminsky was 3rd, then went 4 wheels off over in turn number 7. Got those tires cleaned off, the Cooper tires back up to temp, and he's starting to put some pressure on again.
Hunter McElroy still leads Braden Eves, Zach Holden, Colin Kaminsky, and Keane rounding out the top 5. You mentioned the spooling the car back up to make that pass. That's an interesting way of looking at it in terms of it being a momentum track.
Agreed.
And a momentum course. If you get a little bit offline, it takes you a lap or sometimes a little longer to get that momentum and get that rhythm back out online.
And that's right. How many times we've heard rhythm here this weekend? Everybody talking about how the fact that Portland's this rhythm track. Well, when you go off track like Colin Kaminsky did, you get your tires all dirty. It takes a while for you to get back on track. You try to clean those tires up a little bit. They're going to be sliding around. Once you get through a couple of corners, really start sliding them and get that dirt off them, then you've got to get yourself back into the groove in terms of hitting your marks, getting the speed back up, because you've lost so much pace. Because, you know, we talked about the fact the speed you're having coming through turn number 4, 5, and 6 is what's going to lead to with the speed down the back straightaway. Interesting to see the car going by of Jack Crawford. Looks like part of the bodywork may be sticking up on the car. We'll have another look at that when they get close. But it seems to me like the left side bodywork on the car of Crawford, something's come loose and is pulled up. I'm sure we'll get another shot at it soon. This is this battle between Zach Holden and Colin Kaminsky. That is for the final step on the podium. Holden was very happy with the car earlier in the weekend in practice and qualifying. I think he figured he was going to have a better car, a better time rather in qualifying, but we had a red flag late in the run and he was on a flyer. He believed he was going to go P1. That didn't translate into the qualifying for the second race, and it didn't really have the speed he wanted in race number 1 either, but really showing what he's got now in the Legacy Autosport machine. Holden now running 3rd. To say, when we do get a chance to look at Jack Crawford, there it is, something there on the right on the side of the car. That's the side bodywork. It seems like one of the Zeus fasteners popped up. So the side pod on the left part of the car. Watch him right here. You know what that actually is? That's the intake funnel. That's that intake funnel on the left side, and around the outside of the intake is where you screw it in. Obviously, a couple of those screws have backed out and it's popped open. So it's going to affect things incredibly with that car. Number 1, it's an aerodynamic drag. And number 2, he's not getting the airflow into the carburetors, the fuel injector, into the engine that he needs right now, into the intake.
Which affects the performance in terms of horsepower and makes it that much more difficult to maintain the pace out on track. And you're right, that's not aerodynamically correct.
There's a pass for Reese Gold getting to the inside of Manuel Suleiman. Those guys are having a tremendous battle. That is the fight now for 7th, 8th, and 9th. Reese Gold, Manuel Suleiman, and Eduardo Barrichello. The 2 D-Force drivers. Suleiman and Barrichello have been putting pressure on Gold. Reese able to go back by having lost the spot. So a lot of action here in USF 2000. Not so much up front. It's a 2.6 second lead for Hunter McElroy. Braden Eves with a big gap as well over Zach Holden. Darren Keane, I'm watching to see whether or not he can close up. He's 2 seconds behind Colin Kaminsky, having been able to get by Crawford and pull away. The lap time just almost exactly the same between Keane and Kaminsky. They run 4th and 5th respectively. 1:12.8 for both of those drivers last time by. That fight still continuing between Sundaramurthy, Green, and Siegel. That's an excellent battle. 11th, 12th, and 13th. Fastest driver in that group, actually Josh Green, in that particular run by the stripe. But a lot of good racing deep in the field as well, just outside the top 10. Your leader, McElroy, trying to keep things rolling with the Mazda Soul Red colors. Indeed, yesterday it was a Soul Red attack. And of course, Rinus VeeKay in Indy Lights, Kyle Kirkwood in the Indy Pro 2000 category, Hunter McElroy in USF 2000. The scholarship winners winning all 3 of the races yesterday. It's been solid so far. Kyle Kirkwood again, another one for the scholarship winner. Toby Sowery actually getting the victory for HMD Motorsports in the Indy Lights class, but Hunter McElroy looking to go back-to-back here, and I believe would take the point lead should he be able to get this win over Braden Eves.
Just a 1-point lead now for Braden Eves on the in the championship. But you mentioned we've talked about them going back and forth during the races, during the weekend. They've gone back and forth in the championship as well. And this is one of the great appealing things about the road to Indy, is that you have these close competitive battles because of equally matched cars and drivers that are learning and evolving as the season moves along.
One thing that will be so important when we get to the finale weekend at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, that is a track that is notoriously tough to pass on. So let's put a little bit into the hands of the engineers and the mechanics as well, because they're going to have to roll off the trailer with a really good setup. We don't get a lot of time on the racetrack, 5 sessions on a race weekend, practice, 2 qualifying, and 2 races. And with the championship up for grabs, if you don't roll off the trailer, if you're chasing that setup a little bit, and let's say you qualify lower in the top 10 or even outside the top 10, you have given yourself such a tough run at it. McElroy's team, Pabst Racing, has nailed it over this last number of weekends. Cape Motorsports has been off just a little bit. Their drivers right now 2nd, 5th, 6th, and 9th. The drivers from Pabst Racing currently running 1st, 4th, 10th, and 12th. So a gap between all those drivers, 4 cars per team. They're battling in the team championship. Right now, Pabst Racing leading the team championship, and they won the last 2 years in that team championship battle. One thing as well we haven't seen yesterday this happened, the first time since 2014 that Cape Motorsports has not won in a 4-race span. They're always winning races. You go back to 2014, the start of the season. They ended up winning the championship, still went on a tear in the second half of the season. But we just don't go 4 or 5 races without Cape Motorsports getting a victory. And this has been 4 straight right now, and as they're running, could be 5 straight races without a win for Cape Motorsports. Colin Kaminsky is not let off at all in terms of trying to pressure Zach Holden out of that 3rd place spot. You can see them coming through turn number 4 now. A gap of about 4 car lengths through 4 over to turn 5. Big gap back to Darren Keane as well. Keane able to get by Crawford a couple laps ago. In fact, as I said, Keane kind of chipping away. It's still 2.2 seconds between the drivers running 4th and 5th, so Keane seems destined, unless we have some kind of contact, to come home here in the 5th position.
Nice to see some of the other drivers that have moved up through the field as well. You mentioned Eduardo Barrichello, who's now up to 8th spot. Bruno Tomaselli has also moved up into the top 10 after starting outside the top 10. Just it's only a position or a couple of positions, but again, a demonstration of the drivers as they're starting to improve. And that air intake is very disconcerting every time we see it.
Yeah, when Jack Crawford comes by, you see that air intake flying out. Look at that bell there. That's Barrichello, Gold, Tomaselli, Green, Sundaramurthy, Nolan Siegel. Wow, they're all kind of lining up there right now. This is a good fight here in USF 2000. But again, Barrichello, let's touch on him as you brought him into consideration. A top 10 run yesterday, top 10 run right now as well. The D-Force driver's looking really good. This is Eduardo Barrichello's second half of the season, getting more comfortable with this race car. He ran in F4 last year, but here in the road to Indy, the competition's so tight. You could just see him starting to come on strong. I'm assuming they'll have him back next year as well, With D-Force Racing, he is going to be a championship contender for sure. Top 10 runner already with a full season under his belt. I would expect him to come out of the gate really strong at St. Petersburg.
And as we've talked a couple of times through the weekend, this is what often happens in the season. Maybe a driver will come in late in the season, run an event or two, just to become acclimatized with the series, with the cars, with the teams, and use that as the stepping stone or launch pad into a full season the next year. Again, perhaps a championship contender, but it's a good way to familiarize yourself with all of the procedures of the series as well as the cars and the competition itself.
And we see, because these drivers are so young, we see them get, the driver who starts the season is not the driver who is there mid-season. The amount of experience they get, the way they change the driver in and out of the car, they're so much different midway through the season. That's why we see drivers who may be rookies and maybe a little bit younger and don't have a lot of experience, they really start to come into their own halfway through the season. Great fight now for 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, and 13th. These drivers all lined up nose to tail. It's Bruno Tomaselli, Reese Gold, Josh Green, Ewan Sundaramurthy, and Nolan Siegel. One driver having trouble coming through, I believe, the Shelton chicane, having to take the runoff area. Shot here of turn number 4 and 5. There's the two D-Force drivers. That's Suleiman and Barrichello. Nolan Siegel falling back a little bit from Ewan Sundaramurthy. Your leader McElroy in the number 22 rocketing down the back straightaway. The 8 of Braden Eves. Let's look at lap times here now, because I think Zach Holden's closing up a bit here on Braden Eves. 0.2 of a second last time by, faster. 11 laps to go. We're past the halfway point. Let's keep an eye on the gap, Todd, between Eves and Holden. Holden's getting pressure from Kaminsky, but 0.2 of a second lap. He's got it down to 1.4 seconds. You're getting to the point where the draft's going to start coming to play.
That is a significant increase, and now just a little under 1.4 seconds as they cross the stripe for another turn of the circuit. That's an interesting, again, development of how you watch picking off a 10th per lap. Yeah. And you see the results a couple of laps later when you can visibly see that the driver in front of you is a little bit closer, and it only motivates you further.
Eves a 1:12.6. Holden the 1:12.6, Kaminsky a 1:12.7, and Keane a 1:12.6. All faster than the leader McElroy, but he's got 3.5 seconds. Hunter in cruise control right now. The American-born, I lived in Australia for a while, Kiwi from New Zealand, is now the driver to beat up front. A great young man. He won the $200,000 Mazda USF 2000 scholarship last year. The last couple of years, Oliver Askew was a benefactor of this as well. There was a program where we had essentially associations with F1600, F2000, different programs around the world, Australia, New Zealand, Brazil, Ireland, through the UK, Canada as well, where we brought the champions all together to do a shootout. And it was that was the Road to Indy shootout, and it was amazing. So you get all these tremendous drivers together, and it was who could be impressive on the track, but also away from the car as well. It was the whole program of what you could have. Oliver Askew was one of the winners, and of course Hunter McElroy winning last year. And if you've spoken with him, you sat down, just a really nice young man, gregarious, funny, and very smart, very well spoken as well. And then you get the job done in the race car as well.
All part of the process of being a successful race car. Hunter McElroy has led right from the start. We have been green right from the start. 9 laps remaining. Although we have not had a pass for the lead, it's Braden Eves that remains in second spot. As we've gone through the first 16 laps, a total of 64 passes have taken place out on track, an illustration of the battling that's been going on.
And we've seen some great passes in turn number 1. We saw a couple of passes in turn number 9, which you and I both held our breath. We saw passes at the end of going into turn number 7 as well. A couple inside moves into 7. The ones at the end of the straightaway, though, the back straightaway, always make me hold my breath a little bit. There's that errant intake scoop for Jack Crawford. Not helping him at all, but still holding on to 6th. Interesting to see Colin Kaminsky turning things up. He's actually the fastest driver right now in the top 5. Kaminsky's close to within 0.4 of a second of Holden. They are all closing up on Braden Eves, down to a second gap now. Kaminsky not having a good lap there, fell back a bit, but Zach Holden, who now has an 0.8 of a second cushion on Kaminsky, that's going to help him. He'll put 100% focus now on Braden Eves, who's quicker by a 10th. There is still 8 laps to go. He's about a 10th quicker a lap, and he's within 1 second. There is an opportunity for Zach Holden to try to battle Braden Eves for second place.
just as we saw kind of the fight for the last podium position, or one of the final podium positions in the previous race of the Indy Pro 2000, it was Parker Thompson and Rasmus Lind, who looked like there might be an opportunity to make a stab. However, it was pressure from behind that wound up challenging Parker Thompson, and he had to refocus more on defense versus offense.
Leader McElroy, car looking so good as he works over the undulations coming down the back straightaway there. You can see those cars dipping and diving, working their way back to turn number 9. Any of these young drivers will tell you it's a corner they've never seen before, because it's just a quick flick of the wrist to the left, and they get back on the throttle to the right, and it just, the line is, it just seems so narrow. And you can't go through there too wide, and you're absolutely on the edge of adhesion. Remember, not near as much downforce on these cars, not near as much tread width either, so not as much grip coming from the Cooper tires. Still a lot of horsepower, 180 horsepower on these cars, so those drivers having to really place the car in the right place, apply the throttle, get onto the brake, get off of the brake, even more importantly at the right place, let the car take a set, and then roll back into the throttle and come out of turn 11 and 12.
Eves has opened up the gap a little bit on Holden. However, Kaminsky is now closed into 0.6 of a second behind Zach Holden, so that too may be a battle before the end of this race.
It's interesting, Todd, because these are the drivers, of course, of the very first run of the road to Indy, and you'll want to see really consistent lap times. But of Eves, Holden, and Kaminsky, they've gone anywhere, I want to say probably about 4 or 5 tenths of a second to the good or to the bad every lap. No one's just knocking out consistently same lap times, the same 1/10 of a second. They're all kind of just going up and down a little bit, and that's why nobody's attacking right now. Holden does have it down to within a second. 7 laps to go. He was now it's back to 0.97. Let's see what he gets this time by. Zach Holden trying to see if he can't put a challenge on second place running Braden Eves. 0.971 was the gap last time by 1:07. So again, Braden Eves drops down to a 1:12.5. Holden to a 1:12.6. I shouldn't hold them to the fire that hard because they've been running essentially 5s and 6s. We've seen the occasional 8th. We don't see any 4s or 2s, let's put it that way. But I thought that Holden may be able to reel him in. But again, Zach would be very happy with a 3rd place finish. He's had an up and down season. Zach does not have the budget to run the full season. Been able to work with Legacy Autosport has brought him back. He's helping, giving them a lot of data, and he's bringing them great results as well. Legacy Autosport thinking about next year, we want to show that our cars are good. We're going to hand the keys to Zach Holden because this is the guy we know who can drive.
Just as important for the teams to be showing well at this time of year as the drivers are, because they're looking to make plans and looking for driving talent and want to be able to attract the top talent to their team.
And you think about the fact that in the second week in October, we're back at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for the Chris Griffiths Memorial Test. All the teams are there, and they're shopping around. They're trying to make sure that they're putting the results on the racetrack that people say, hey, I want to come and run with this team. You know, I see what they're like in the paddock. I see how professionally they run their team in the paddock, what they can do for my sponsors. I want to see what kind of speed they can do. You know, we've had a number of different teams that have won here this year. Pabst Racing has been a winner. Newman Walks Racing has won events this year. Cape Motorsports has won. You know, these teams that are able to win these races, that's the teams that people are thinking about going to.
5 laps remaining. We have been green right from the start. It is Hunter McElroy and Braden Eves that are running 1-2. Zach Holden, Colin Kaminsky, and Darren Keene rounding out the top 5 as we're getting into the late stages. Will there be a challenge? It's now down to 0.2 of a second, 2.5 tenths between Kaminsky and Holden for 3rd.
I think the best battle on the racetrack right now might be for 10th position. That's Reese Golden, the number 3, and Josh Green in that number 5. They're going at it, but here's the fight here. Kaminsky has closed back up to a couple of car lengths. That's the run for the final podium position. There's your leader, Hunter McElroy from New Zealand. The American Braden Eves. Then it's the American Zach Holden having to fight it out here right now with Colin Kaminsky. Americans run 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th. And it's the Mexican Suleiman in 7th, the Brazilians Barrichello and Tomaselli in 8th, and the American Gold in 10th. That fight for 3rd, not done. And I will tell you this right now, Braden Eves has pulled away. He's putting some good lap times down. He's got 1.2 seconds. He's got a stranglehold on 2nd. I think Zach Holden may be thinking a little more about trying to make sure he finishes on the podium here.
Understandably so. It's the gap has gone back up a little bit now to 4 tenths, but there is still 4 laps remaining, and we have seen it close up by a couple of tenths on each individual lap. So this fight is not over.
Further back in the field, behind that battle I talked about with Reese Gold and Josh Green. Nolan Siegel actually going a couple tenths of a second quicker than them. He's closed up a little bit. He was able to get by Yuvan Sundaramurthy, so put Nolan Siegel now up into the 12th position. Again, he's trying to close up on this fight between Reese Gold and Josh Green. That's the battle for third coming at you. McElrea. Then Eves comes into play. And then Zach Holden keeping his head down, holding off Kaminsky. McElrea, Eves, Kaminsky, Keane all in the championship battle. Zach Holden not in the fight right now, but as they run on the racetrack, Hunter McElrea will hold a 10-point lead, I believe. The fight for that third spot in the championship, I think, will swing to Darren Keane now, I believe. Keane with 234 points. Colin Kaminsky would have 226. Christian Rasmussen, who came in with a definite shot at a top three, has fallen back. Of course, he was the first driver out of the race, or at least off the track. He continues to run on the racetrack here, trying to close back up to see if he can't get another point.
That's a tough break to have something like that happen on lap number 1 of the race, where you have to make a pit stop along pit road so your team can get you back out and then go a lap down right away. And
turning great lap times. He's running 1:12.4. Right now, Christian Rasmussen, 18th spot, 1 lap down, faster than the leader. Right.
But he has shown speed all weekend, whether it be in qualifying or in the race. Jumped up into a podium result yesterday, and we were expecting that he would be challenging for a podium spot again today.
2 times a winner in the series this year. Christian Rasmussen winning in Toronto, also winning at Mid-Ohio, and had a good run going here this weekend. He's had good speed. We're watching this battle, though. This is the fight for third spot. Zach Holden and Colin Kaminsky.
It has closed up again as they head out onto the front stretch. Whether or not Kaminsky is going to make a move up towards the inside of corner number 1, we're going to watch and see, but he is really uptight and challenging, putting the pressure on.
And Zach Holden holding his line, not like he's moving around at all. Colin trying to keep his mirrors full of that black Pabst racing machine. The slick locks entry. They'll work their way to turn number 3 over to 4. Laps winding down, just 2 to go. We're almost done with this Grand Prix of Portland, the road to Indy, presented by Cooper Tires, the final race of the 6 that we've had throughout the weekend. 2 for Indy Lights, 2 for Indy Pro. Wrapping up the second here for USF 2000. And the battle for that final podium position continuing. Colin Kaminsky has been very patient. He has not tried any low-risk move at this point, but he's continued to put the pressure on Zach Holden, and that's what you can do. Force the driver into a mistake. Holden thus far, no chink in the armor, holding on to third.
That's exactly it. He hasn't made a low-risk move, but he has reminded Holden that he is there, just showing himself enough in the mirrors, and you can see that Holden is glancing in his mirrors regularly to find out where his competitor is looking and where he might be vulnerable.
Kaminsky got a good run out here with the white flag flying. Last lap here in USF 2000. Hunter McElrea, 5.5 seconds up. He is looking to grab his 4th win here of the 2019 season to take over the point lead heading to the doubleheader finale at WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca. 5.5 seconds the advantage. We're still watching that fight, of course, for third, Holden and Kaminsky. Here they come through. This is your leader, Hunter McElrea, and the number 22, the Mazda Soul Red machine. Impressive. Out of turn 6 through turn 7. He'll come through 8 and down the straightaway here now. What a run it's been. Hunter McElrea, pick him up as he comes out of the corner here. That sweeping kind of right-handed bend back straight. McElrea, he fits very well in that car for being 6'2" or 6'3". He's a tall kid, maybe 6'1". Let's not overshoot it. Through the final couple of corners, though, ladies and gentlemen, he's tall. He's very impressive, and he is a back-to-back winner. Ladies and gentlemen, back-to-back Jacks here. And the Grand Prix of Portland, the winner in USF 2000, Hunter McElrea. What a victory for him. What a weekend. Guy who said he just was having fun driving his race car. Braden Eves ends up in 2nd. Zach Holden in 3rd. Colin Kaminsky 4th. Darren Keane will wrap up the event in that 5th position. He'll take over 3rd in the points as well, I believe, for Darren Keane. Jack Crawford, just 14 years of age, in 6th. Manuel Suleiman and Eduardo Barrichello 7th. The D-Force drivers having a great weekend. Suleiman 7th, Barrichello 8th. Bruno Tomaselli up into 9th. And Josh Green able to get by Reese Gold in the final couple of circuits. Josh Green in his debut moving to the 10th position And a fight further back. We're not done here between Christian Bogle, Ayrton Ori, and Christian Rasmussen. Rasmussen, I think, trying to get at least one spot. He might have got two. No, he's going to get one. I think he's able to get by Christian Bogle potentially. Their teammates at J. Howard Driver Development, they'll come across the line to finish it off. Rasmussen gets one more spot. He'll probably get one more point as well. A fight race long to get one position in the final couple of corners.
That is team and especially driver persistence, to have trouble on the opening lap and then get the problem repaired, understanding your situation and that you're down, but to fight that hard all the way back to gain a spot from the back of the pack. That's a hard day's work in 25 laps.
And good for him, right?
Yes.
And do not give up. Keep digging. And he did that, turning some really good lap times coming forward. But you got to go to the top of the charts here, folks. Hunter McElroy, the number 22, back-to-back victories here at the Grand Prix of Portland. Wow, he needed that to get himself into the point lead, and he did it. There's your results of race number 2 in the Cooper Tires USF 2000 Championship, the Portland Grand Prix. Hunter McElroy with the win. Braden Eves in second. The first time this year he has not led since the get-go. Braden Eves in second now. Third, Zach Holden. Fourth, Colin Kaminsky. And fifth, Aaron Keene. And I'll tell you, I told you he's tall. Watch as he comes out of this car. There's a lot to Hunter McElroy. He'll get on top, and look at the emotion, folks. There's just the understanding that he has just taken the point lead. And you could see it. You can't even see his eyes, but you could see it in his gestures, in the body language. Hunter McElroy from New Zealand, absolutely overjoyed with a victory here today and make that 2. And as I had said, when you are having that much fun driving your race car, you know that things are going to come in your way. McElroy, Eves, Holden, Kaminsky, and Keene, your top 5. Jack Crawford ends up in the 6th spot. Manuel Suleiman 7th. Eduardo Barrichello 8th. Bruno Tomaselli 9th. And Josh Green in 10th.
Amazing weekend here, just wrapped up in Portland. I managed to go P1 in every test and practice session, swept the pole positions of the weekend, and ended up just sweeping the races as well. So I'm pretty ecstatic right now. Also got the points lead heading into the final round, so feels really good. Like I said, it's still sinking in, and massive thanks to everyone who gives me this amazing opportunity. You know, Paps Racing gave me a phenomenal car as always. Mazda Motorsports for this opportunity, all my family and friends, and yeah, I'm just really excited to get my head down and start getting ready for the next round.